Hey everybody, so here is my video for getting through the Smoky Mountains. You guys are doing all your research, you're getting all your stuff together, you're looking online and you're talking to other hikers. Well, here's a little information. Hopefully it'll help you with your worries about getting through the Smokies. As you know, the Smokies is a huge place. It's awesome, it's beautiful, and you know they get 10 million visitors a year. That's the most of any state park in the country, and because of the traffic, they have a lot of rules also, just like the White Mountains. In fact, they're even more strict, and they have to be because they're trying to manage all that land and they're managing all those people. And so I'm going to give you a few tips, some information, hopefully make you stress-free going through that area. First of all, just like I said on the White Mountains video, chill out. Don't worry about it. You're going to get through. It's awesome. I have my notes. See, I did my research. I made some notes. So listen, what do you expect? First of all, it's so popular. There's going to be people. It's going to be crowded. Actually, that's the most crowded because of the regulations of the whole trail. And there's areas where when you get to an area that's near a road, and it also in combination to an awesome site like McAfee's Knob or whatever, you're going to have areas on the trail that are going to be more popular than others. It seems like the Smoky Mountains is populated all the way through. So, and especially with the time of year that we're going through, the weather's starting to break. People wanting to get outside, school break, depends on what's going on. But there were a lot of high school groups out there, wrestling clubs, this, that, and the other thing, or families out there, and they're all going by their rules, which are different than the thru hiker rules. So everybody has to work together to make this work. So here we go. The trails get beat up out there. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, if they only made the trail 5 feet further than, they move it every now and then, it probably wouldn't be this problem. But they don't do that. They just run the same trails year after year. And when you get, all the soil, and then hikers walk through and it rains every year, they lose some more soil, and the rocks that are in the soil are all going down to the bottom, and there's just chutes sometimes, just miles where you're walking just on rocks, just piles of rocks. They're moving around like shuffleboards, discs, and that's all because all the soil's been washed out. So expect some rugged trails. Not rugged like New England rugged like there used to be dirt here. Now all the dirt's gone. It's just a pile of rocks. So it's a little tough on the ankles. You could slip on rock on rock stuff. You get the idea. Also, you're going to probably have more animal interaction in this area. So I recommend you go to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park website. They give you an idea how to deal with the wildlife over there, bear encounters. They also give you all the rules and regulations that you need to know as a thru hiker, because they are different for a thru hiker than a regular visitor in the park. Okay, you're going to get your first taste of the real hard climbs. I remember looking at the map and going, holy crap, I got 26 miles of ascent over the next couple days. And that's the first real taste of it, and believe me, you will taste it. They do also have weather extremes. We're down by Fontana Dam, and the weather seemed to be fine, and within a day we were up at the high elevations, and the weather was completely different. You couldn't see anything. The temperature dropped, it rained, it snowed. So as soon as you drop down on the other side, it seems like you got out of it. So it's a little challenging up there. The temperature drops way down at night up there. You're going up over 5,000 feet and stuff. Okay, here's something for you privy lovers. There aren't many privies in the Smokies. All right, so it's kind of weird because you have to stay at shelters, and not all the shelters have privies. So if you have to go to the little boy's tree, you're going in the same area that thousands of other people have gone. So watch your step, okay? I would recommend, and maybe that's a little stop you could take before you get to the camp, to the shelter. I guarantee you a lot of people are stopping once they head out in the morning along the trail. So I think the safer side would be the side before the shelters. Listen, do a good job with your cat holes. Fill them up, cover them. Make sure, make sure the next person walking through looking for a spot doesn't step in your mess. And toilet tissue, it is probably, it wasn't as bad as it could be or what you would expect, but there's some areas in there that are pretty nasty. So let's keep that down to, minimum so that we don't ruin it for somebody else. Familiarize yourself with the rules. All right. They also, on that website, they give you all the reservations and permit information, but I'm going to go over some of that with you. It's important too that you do look at it, because there are trail closures, and although they don't close the Appalachian Trail, I mean, I guess they could if there was something bad happened, but there are a lot of side trails that do get closed on a regular basis, and that side trail might be going down to an area where you had a shuttle set up to be picked up to, resupply or a break or whatever. So you might want to know about that stuff. They do have rangers and ridge runners that run it, and I tell you what, they take their work pretty serious. They will fine you up to $5,000 and kick you out of the woods. I mean, you got to be pretty bad to get kicked out of the woods. I mean, if you're at a bar or something that gets something stupid, they throw you outside. They do something outside and you get thrown. There's nowhere else to go. So, but they do take that serious. One of the rules that is big for me is they do not allow hammocking in their park. There's the only place you can hammock is a designated campgrounds that allow hammocks. Now, luckily, when you're coming out of Fontana Dam, the very first campsite does allow hammocking. It's an outside campsite. It's great. It's only like 7 or 8 miles up the hill, and by then I was ready to camp, so we stayed there. But it even says in the regulations and on the websites that the hammock hanging is not camping and it's not allowed. So keep that in mind. I use the same analogy I used in my last video. It's kind of like you're driving, speed limit 65 miles an hour. You're driving 75 miles an hour. There's a trooper on the side of the road. He's probably not going to pull you over. However, if you're driving 75 miles an hour and you're weaving in and out of traffic, going up on the shoulder, that guy, he's going to pull you over because you're reckless and you're disrespectful, whatever. And so that's how I look at hammocking, especially everywhere for that matter, but especially in the Smokies. If you're hammocking and you're not damaging the trees, you don't have a fire going on, you're not keeping everybody awake at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, you're not leaving garbage around, you're probably not going to have a problem. However, if you act up, start making fires and stuff outside the fire rings, outside the fireplaces, you're gonna have a problem. So that's how I look at that. And it specifically says no hammocks around shelters. So now you know, but that was my theory on that. Okay, also you need to know that you cannot use any kind of soap, even camp soap, biodegradable soap, anything near any water source. That's a big rule. I'm only going to tell you a few of them. Absolutely no dogs. So if you're planning on through hiking with a dog, make sure that you make arrangements ahead of time to kennel that dog up while you go through the Smokies. I'm telling you, the Smokies, I was really having some anxiety over that because I didn't know if I could get through in time, but it only took 4 days. Unfortunately, 3 of those 4 days was rainy and foggy and wet and cold, but even with those conditions, 4 days was ripped right through. And I mentioned the fires already. You can't only do a fire in a authorized fire pit, or in the shelters over there you have fireplaces, which is kind of cool. And if you're leaving around mid-March or before, by the time you get through there should still be these tarps. They take tarps and they hang them out in front of the shelter. It gives you like a fourth wall. It kind of keeps the wind and cold out and the snow. And then once you get a fire going, you actually can warm up a little bit. If you're much later than that, if you're starting at much later than mid-March, you run the risk of getting there after they take the tarps down. It's a seasonal thing. And I talked to people that said, I was in there just after you, and they were up there taking the tarps down. So that's something to look forward to and keep in mind. You have to have a permit if you're hiking through there as a through hiker. The permit can only be bought online. You can use your email or just do it online and print it. But you have to do that. It's got to be done within 30 days of you going into the park, and you have to keep it on you at all times. Now, I got mine when I was at Top of Georgia Hostel over in Hiawassee. That's where I went online and printed it there. However, you can't always rely on their internet, their website being up, or the internet at the place you go on. You can go to a public library, which I like to use. But make sure that you do that. I think Hiawassee was kind of pushing it. If I had run into trouble there, I might have had to, take a day off the trail to go figure it out. So if you have people at home, they could do that for you and mail it to you with a food drop or something. That works great. But just keep in mind, within 30 days, but don't wait too long, because if something happens, you don't want to get in there without your permit. You might get a fine. It's got to be carried on you up to 30 days in advance. They're $20, by the way, or they were for me. I don't think they went up. It says $20 on the website. You have 6 days to get through. So there's no consecutive night stays at the shelters. So if you stay at a shelter, they're expecting you to move on, and people in back, you don't have a place to go if you're laying there. And if you take a stop, let's say you take one of those side trails and you get a shuttle pick you up and you brings you to Gatlinburg or something, you can't spend 4 days there and your permit's still good. You're going to have to get another permit. Okay? Here's the kicker. You got to stay in the shelters when you're in the Smokies. If there's room, you have to use a shelter. They're usually between 8 and 12 person shelters. So as long as there's room, they're expecting you to be in there. You can't be camping outside. Now here's the kicker. If there's 12 of you guys and gals in there that are through hiking, and then, 2 people come, and they're section hikers, see, they have to get reservations for specific nights to wherever they think they're going to be. And they come in with their reservation, you have to make room for them. So that means you either scrunch up tight, or you have to go camp outside. Personally, at the one experience I had in there, I was hoping somebody would show up so I could volunteer and go camp outside, but it didn't happen. Let's see. If it's full, camp in the immediate area. It's a good idea to have a pad and earplugs for sleeping inside. I know we're all prepared to camp in tents. A lot of people like to go shelter jump, but everybody has that stuff. Make sure if you're not a shelter sleeper, you be prepared to sleep in a shelter, because it's just one of those things. All right, and it says here, must give up space to section hikers with reservations. Okay, so I wrote a little note there. There will be, especially with the way it's getting crowded. And the thing that surprised me was the size of the groups. If you're in a 12-person shelter, I think they give reservations up to 4. And same for the 8s. I think they give reservations up to 4 section hikers. And from what I heard all the way through, was with the exception of that one time, they were there. So last thing I want to mention is hang your food. Whenever I was near a shelter, when they have cables and stuff, or campsite with cables, I'd use them. Whenever I was around people, I'd use them. I wasn't real good at using them when I was out in the woods, self camping by myself, but I've changed my tune on that. I believe that if you don't hang your food, you're just teaching the animals. So that was brought to my attention, and I kind of buy into it. So those are my thoughts on the Smokies, man. The Smokies are beautiful. That one day that I had views, they were phenomenal. But it was a real challenge, and knowing you're heading into them, you have that anticipation, and getting through them is a great sense of accomplishment. It's the first real obstacle that you face when you're hiking this trip. And I kind of hope you guys all enjoyed the video. I really, for those of you heading out this year, I'm sending out my love and wishing you the best of luck and a healthy trip. So this is Sam I Am, talking to you from Connecticut on a nice snowy afternoon. Well, it stopped snowing, but you can hear the trees breaking in the background. Sam I Am.